Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are swapping high frequency trading and policy debates for something a bit more aspirational. We're talking about making that tropical dream a reality. For so many of you, buying a home in Phuket is, the ultimate goal. Those beaches, the culture, that incredible lifestyle.
It's a phenomenal dream. It really is. But turning that dream into a secure, legally sound investment, that's a whole different ballgame, especially if you're a newcomer.
Right. It's a complex landscape.
It is, and if you dive into that market without serious local expertise, you could run into some major complications.
And that's exactly why we're here. Our mission today is to break it all down. The rules, the best locations, the paperwork, everything you need to know to make a purchase that's not just successful, but genuinely secure.
And for this, we're drawing on some really deep, trusted local experience. Our source material is from the Ultimate Phuket Property Buying Guide for Newcomers, which is published by Ocean Worldwide.
Okay, so who are they?
They're a luxury real estate agency that's been based right there in Phuket since 2004, and their director, Sandra O'Neill, has personally helped thousands of families and investors over the years. So this isn't theory. This is practical, on-the-ground insight.
That kind of experience is priceless. Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we even start dreaming about beachfront villas, what's driving the market right now? What are the dynamics we need to understand?
The first thing to realize is that you're not just buying a property. You're buying into a lifestyle. And that lifestyle appeals to, holiday makers, people looking to move permanently, and increasingly some very savvy investors.
And I imagine that market is always changing. What was hot a few years ago might not be the top choice today.
Exactly. Just jumping in without that current market knowledge would be, well, a bit daft.
Yeah.
A key trend we're seeing, and the guide really highlights this, is a shift away from the absolute busiest tourist hubs.
Oh, interesting. Why is that? Is it just about wanting more peace and quiet?
That's part of it, but it's more about balance and infrastructure. The really established areas can get bogged down with traffic. Buyers are finding that places like Bang Tao, or even further north, offer better value, better communities, and new infrastructure that makes them really appealing for long-term living.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about finding the next sweet spot, not just the one everyone already knows. So let's do a quick snapshot of the property types. What are the basic trade-offs?
Okay, so at the top, you have the beachfront villa.
Oh.
Ultimate luxury, direct access to the sand, but you're paying a huge premium and, of course, dealing with much higher maintenance.
Right. And then on the other side, you have the hillside condo.
Yep, you get those incredible panoramic views, which honestly sell the place, but you'll probably need a car or scooter for everything, and you're sharing facilities.
What about something more local?
A townhouse, maybe closer to Phuket town. It's great for cultural immersion, much lower price point, but you're giving up that instant beach access. And then there's the gated community villa. Great security, shared pools, gyms. Perfect if you're not there year-round. But you have to factor in those mandatory service charges.
Okay, so understanding the property is step one. Step two, and this is where it gets really technical, is the legal maze of foreign ownership. This is a huge shock for a lot of people, isn't it?
It is. What's fascinating here is that Thai law makes this razor-sharp distinction between owning a building and owning the land it sits on.
So let's start with the simplest one, a condominium.
Right. For a condo, a foreigner can own the unit outright. It's called freehold ownership. But, and this is a huge, but it's subject to a very strict 49% foreign ownership quota.
And that's for the entire building.
The entire building, yes. So
Okay.
if there are 100 units, a maximum of 49 of them by area can be owned freehold by foreigners. Once that cap is hit, the building is full.
Wow. So what happens then? If I find the perfect condo, but they've hit the 49% limit, am I just out of luck?
Not completely. But your only option at that point would be to buy a unit on a leasehold basis. And that immediately changes your rights from permanent ownership to, well, long-term rental, essentially. A massive difference.
That is a crucial distinction. Okay, now let's talk about land villa, a private house. Here, freehold is basically off the table for foreigners.
Generally, yes. Direct freehold ownership of land by foreigners is not permitted. This means you need to use legal workarounds, which are well established but require a lot of professional care.
The guide points to two main routes, Thai company ownership and leasehold. Let's start with the company. How does that work?
You set up a Thai limited company, and that company holds the land title. The tricky part is that Thai law says at least 51% of the shares must be held by Thai nationals.
And there's the big question. If I'm a foreign investor putting up all the money, but I only own 49% of the shares, how do I protect myself?
This is where you absolutely need careful legal structuring. You can't just use nominee shareholders. You need ironclad shareholder agreements that give you control over the company's decisions, even with a minority stake. If you don't, you risk the Thai majority making decisions you don't agree with, like selling the land from under you.
That sounds risky. It makes the leasehold option seem a bit simpler. You're leasing the land for, what, 30 years?
A 30-year term is the standard, yes. Often it comes with options to renew for 2 more 30-year terms, so 90 years in total. But those renewal clauses have to be legally watertight and re-registered at the land office. It gives you long-term security, but it's not the same as owning it forever.
So legal help is non-negotiable. And there's one more hurdle, proof of funds.
Absolutely mandatory. The Thai government requires you to prove that every single dollar for the purchase was remitted into Thailand from an overseas account. You get a certificate from your Thai bank. No certificate, no transfer of ownership. It's a strict rule.
The bottom line here, as the experts at Ocean Worldwide stress again and again, is get a good property lawyer. It's your only real safeguard. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Once you've figured out the legal how, you get to the fun part, picking the location. And Phuket is so diverse.
It really is. On the popular developed West Coast, you've got places like Bang Tao, Surin, and Kamala. They're a great mix of restaurants, bars, and amenities, a real sweet spot.
Then if you head south, things get a bit busier.
Exactly. Kaita and Karan are much more lively, great for water sports, but you're dealing with bigger crowds. For quiet and nature, you'd go north to Mai Khao, which is more resorts and national parks, or south to Nai Harn for a more laid-back community vibe.
This brings us back to that classic trade-off, beachfront versus hillside. What's the lifestyle difference?
Beachfront gives you that amazing access and view, but you're right in the middle of everything. The noise, the traffic. Hillside properties, though, they offer those incredible panoramic sea views. You get a lovely breeze, and usually a lot more privacy and space for your money. You trade sand for tranquility.
And the vibe of the place changes everything. Bang Tao is great for long-term families because everything is right there.
Right, whereas Phuket Town, which is inland, is a completely different world. It's authentic, cultural, and much more budget-friendly if you don't need to be on the beach every day.
Okay, so let's walk through the actual purchase process. You've found a place, you've got your legal structure sorted. What happens next?
It starts with the usual offer and negotiation. Then you sign a reservation agreement and put down a small deposit to take the property off the market. Then comes the most important stage, due diligence.
And we're not just talking about a quick look at the paperwork here.
Not at all. This is where your lawyer checks the title deeds for any issues, any hidden claims. But you also must get a professional building inspection. The guide is very clear on this. You need to check the structure, the plumbing, the electrics, and for, pests like termites. It's a tropical climate, after all.
Once that all checks out, you sign the main sale and purchase agreement, pay a bigger deposit, usually 10 to 30%, and finally, you complete the sale at the land office.
And that timeline can really vary. A finished condo might take 4 to 8 weeks. An off-plan property that's still being built, you could be waiting 12, maybe 24 months or more.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, financing. Getting a mortgage as a foreigner in Thailand is tough.
It is challenging. It really is. Some Thai banks will work with foreigners, but the terms are much stricter. Higher interest rates and shorter repayment periods, often only 10 or 15 years.
I think the biggest shock for people will be the loan-to-value ratio, the LTV.
Yes, the LTV is how much the bank will lend you against the property's value. For a Thai national, it might be 90%. For a foreigner, you're often only looking at 50 to 70% LTV.
So on a $500,000 villa, if the bank only gives you 50% LTV, you need to show up with $250,000 in cash.
Precisely. You need a huge 30 to 50% deposit up front. You simply can't rely on local lending to cover most of the cost.
And that's before all the other associated costs.
Exactly. You have one-off closing costs like transfer fees, which are about 2%, and stamp duty. Then there are the ongoing costs, mandatory service charges for condos and managed communities. And for a standalone villa, you have to budget for your own pool cleaning, gardening, repairs, all of it.
Let's shift gears for a second. From a home to an investment. You have to look past the beautiful view and run the numbers. The key metric is net rental yield.
It's the only number that really matters. You take your annual rental income, subtract all your operating cost management fees, service charges, maintenance, And then you divide that by what you paid for the property. That tells you what you're actually making.
And that, combined with the potential for long-term value increase, is what makes it a smart investment.
Which brings us right back to having a professional team, a good real estate agent who knows the market.
And that specialized property lawyer, as you said, a non-negotiable legal safeguard. They're there just to protect you.
And if you're not living there full time, a property management company is essential. They handle tenants, rent collection, maintenance. They make it a passive investment instead of a stressful second job.
And just quickly on the practicalities of moving. The cost of living can be affordable, but the guide notes that if you want a fully Western lifestyle, your costs will go up quickly.
And healthcare. Phuket has excellent private hospitals, like Bangkok Hospital Phuket, but you absolutely want to have good private health insurance. It's essential for peace of mind.
That's a fantastic overview. We've covered the huge difference between condo and land ownership, the need for serious due diligence, and the realities of financing. And this comprehensive guide was based entirely on the trusted insights from Ocean Worldwide, the luxury real estate agency that's been on the ground in Phuket since 2004. For more information, you can visit oceanwwp.com.
This really raises one final important question for anyone thinking about this. While Phuket absolutely offers a tropical dream, the success of your investment hinges completely on respecting the local legal framework and not underestimating the value of that local professional expertise. The real question is, are you prepared to navigate the rules of the island before you step onto the sand?
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. We hope this makes your property journey a secure and deeply informed one.